Hey everybody, GravyTrain here with yet another GravyTraining episode. So this time, like I had said in the last episode, I'm going to start going over the heroes more quickly now. I'm going to try to cover groups of heroes all at once and just kind of knock them out of the way so that I can focus less on the roster stuff and more on tactics and strategies and concepts and new heroes and everything else. So I'm going to run through these. I'm going to describe how to rune them. I am not going to actually rune them up because it takes time and I can knock out a bunch of these in a row and get content out here for you. So let's get started. So I already did a video on Zulk, but I want to remind you guys about the synergies. So with demons, we got Reckoning of the Wicked. Demon allies ignore taunt and provoke. Demon allies gain 25% attack and gain regenerative flames, meaning when they get burned, they heal. And if at least 2 other allies are demons, the hero becomes fast. And if a demon dies, his health gets reset and his abilities become powered. So we're gonna run through the rest of the demons. And also, since I just did a video on Pygneus, I'm not going to include Pygneus in this. So Sume is a demon warrior. Typically, I would probably, you could probably rune him for offense, like all attack, or maybe a little bit of a balance. Probably at this point, all attack is going to be best for him. He doesn't stand up very well to taking damage, so maybe if you can rune him for offense, maybe a guardian rune just to give him a little bit of defense so he can take like a hit, but he's pretty fragile, so I would probably rune him mostly offense and a little bit of defense. So his base stats aren't actually not too bad. He is a gold hero, so he gets a 15% boost to all of his stats. So anyhow, Savage Fury, his damage boosts greater and greater as health decreases below 50%. So the lower his health, the more damage he does. Really not a great ability. Spirit of Nature increases attack by 15% for all nature allies. I might have to consider that. That is fairly strong for some of these other teams. He's magical, meaning he takes less damage from non-physical attacks. He's vicious. In PvP, he buffs allied demons attack for 1 turn on a crit. Doesn't say for how much. Abilities. So, okay, first, his epic is 30% defense, 20% max health, 20 or 10% crit chance. It could be better, but it's meh. 30% chance to reduce Sume's health to 15%. Attack for 100% lifesteal. Health is returned if missed. That just seems kind of weird. I don't know that I've ever actually read that despite having it maxed. Potentially. Why would you drop health? Oh, so he does more damage. I suppose that it worked. 15% might be the ideal point for that. Okay, Soul Shred. Melee physical attack on all enemies with base damage, and then Purge is a buff. So this, if you guys remember that boss battle, Soul Shred was one of the abilities that one of the bosses had. It gets pretty ugly, especially if he's lower on health. He was like the boss of wiping teams, the Jerry boss. This does pretty good damage. Double tap. Melee physical attack on an enemy 2 times for damage. Woohoo, nothing special. Spreading Panic. Melee physical attack on target and 2 random enemies for base damage and a chance to fear. Soul Shred is really the only thing that he's got that's worth it at all, so Nitpick. Nitpick is a caster demon. Nitpick and Icepick both recently got buffed a little bit, just mostly in stats. Also, Nitpick did have 2 of his abilities merged into 1. So he's a pretty good hero. I usually rune him for offense. Lots and lots of damage. So his base stats, because he is also a gold hero, his base stats are actually fairly decent. 50% crit chance out of the gate. Skill, attack, defense. So he's magical, thus he takes less damage from non-physical attacks. Spirit of Fire, so he increases attack by 15% for all fire allies. I didn't realize that either, so that's actually pretty nice. Chance to burn on any crit. Demon allies gain a chance to fear on their basic attacks. Chance increases as the enemy's hit points increase. So that's not horrible. Mystical, boosted damage versus tanks and slow targets. So his epic is a 30% defense, 20% health, 10% crit, just like Tsume's was. 30% chance to do a ranged fire attack for 3x damage, which is pretty good. Burn and add a pyromaniac buff to allies. So that means they get energy when somebody gets burning or something like that. I don't remember. Meteor Storm. This is actually pretty decent. It's a ranged fire attack on all enemies for base damage and a chance to burn. I believe this is actually 3 attacks. And it comes down and hits each one 3 times, I'm pretty sure. Savage Slash is 2 flesh-tearing attacks on an enemy. Not bad. And then Fireball. A ranged fire attack for base damage and a chance to burn. So, once again, nothing overly great, but he can actually still do a good bit of damage. Igneous, we just went over Zulk. I went over Icepick. I've kind of really started liking Icepick lately. He's a caster demon. He has some really cool survivability options. We'll just say that. So, his attack is pretty good. Defense, not terrible. Skill, not terrible. Health, not terrible. He does not have an epic. And if he gets an epic, he's going to be a lot of fun. So, tit for tat. An Aegis shield will be generated when damaged. Every time he takes damage, an Aegis shield pops up. So, he gets hit, takes damage, shield pops, gets hit again, shield gets reduced or gets removed, gets hit again, shield pops, rinse, repeat. Really, really nice. It's good against heroes like Hagram, or even against like dwarves where they're doing follow-up attacks and all that, because you're going to block every other attack. Insulated Woolies, he can't be frozen, chilled, or frostbitten. He's magical, takes less damage from non-physical attacks. Tortured Soul. So as his health decreases, his crit damage increases. So that's not bad. Mystical, boosted damage versus tanks and slow targets. Demonic Woolies, demon allies cannot be frozen, chilled, or frostbitten. So if he's out on the field, then no other demon can get frozen either. So that's kind of nice. His first attack is Hailstorm. It's a ranged water attack for decent damage and a chance to frostbite. This next one is interesting. So, the good thing... So let me read the text first. This is Deal with the Devil. Borrow 40% health from an enemy to heal self, but the enemy will be healed the amount stolen in 1 turn. So there's kind of 3 parts to that. First, you're healing yourself for 40% of the enemy's health. That's a hero that has a lot of health. You could pretty much be taking yourself to full health. But the enemy will be healed for the amount stolen in one turn. So they get that health back, but you don't, it's not like it comes from you. They just get healed that amount. So you can do the damage, and if you kill them with it, they're not going to regenerate because they're dead. The other part of this is one of those powers that does not have, like, it's not a 2-hit. You're not swinging a sword. You're straight up borrow 40% health. Not make an attack that does this. Borrow 40% health. It never misses. And it's not going to get resisted. It's like Iris's third ability, where it just hits. So this just happens. So that's kind of nice. I've used it pretty good. And it's straight up health too. It's not damage resisted or anything else. Finally, Blood in the Water is a melee physical attack on the target enemy and the lowest health enemy as well for 1255 base damage. Deals 2.5 damage versus targets with 50% health or less. So you can imagine you start getting low health, they're low health, you hit them, and then the next lower health enemy, you're doing 2.5% or 2.5 times damage, and you're getting a crit boost. So Nitpick is not bad. I mean, he can serve as a tank or a caster tank kind of thing. I like him. I like using him. I almost always use him and Malice when I'm using Zulk. So speaking of Malice, Malice is a demon warrior, gold as well. I think most of the demons are gold. Malice is friggin' beast mode. So decent attack without runes, decent defense without runes, decent health, crit chance. She does cool stuff. So first, Gluttony, so 20% boosted damage for every buff on this hero. So you want to pile buffs, Malice. That includes cleansing regeneration, that includes attack buffs, that includes defense buffs, that includes taunt, that includes anything. Any buff that's put on her, she does 20% more damage. She's also armored, takes less damage from physical attacks. Wrath. So her damage increases as the health of the target decreases. So, yeah, she can do really, really big damage. Obviously, there's a trade-off because the lower damage they are, it matters less, but for the lower health they are. Demonic Pride Team. All allies gain energy on each enemy death. I don't know exactly how much energy that is, but everybody you kill, your demons get energy. And then this one is pretty awesome. So, Demonic Harbinger. Non-demon enemies. Non-demon enemies. Start dungeons with a sacrifice debuff. They cannot be healed, and they take bonus damage from demon heroes. That's what it means. The debuff can be removed. The debuff itself is that they can't be healed. They take bonus damage from demon heroes. Ignores immunity to debuffs. So what does this mean? Malice has been the hero to use to make it so that Zen teams cannot just steamroll your defense. Why is that? So, Zen's haste is a heal. So he just absolutely cannot cast it onto a target that has the sacrifice buff on him. So that's one big thing. Can't cast any heals at all on a target. There's no valid targets if they all have that debuff. Thing to remember, if you put demons on your team, this is not going to get applied to those heroes. So they will still be able to be healed and everything else. Another thing is that heroes like Dagrand And Dagran and Craw. Craw prevents a debuff from being applied. Dagran clears one debuff at the beginning of each round. The more debuffs you apply, the more of a chance that any one particular debuff that you want to get removed or that your opponent wants to get removed is going to get removed. So by adding Malice and Jin, you've got the Silence debuff, and you have the Demonic Sacrifice debuff. Furdo works the same way, where he's got his attack debuff, and other heroes that do that work the same way. But this is an out of the gate, so that's why combination of those two things, if they don't block this, then they will block then the silence, or if they do block this, then the silence still works. If they don't block this, they can't cast the haste anyways. So one way or the other, they can't cast. They can't do the haste. At least not effectively. Next, we have Ella. Now, as much as it would be nice to have Ella really be worth something, she's got that novelty kind of take over an enemy and throw them back at themselves. I suppose it's possible that she could be used kind of as fodder. You throw her in to control Jin or something like that. But they're only going to do a basic attack on each person on the enemy team. So, all in all, you could probably put a strategy together around her, but probably not likely. So, what is she? She's a demon rogue. She is bronze. So, there's that too. She's bronze. Stats are meh. So, weak spot, she does have knowledge of enemies, grants enhanced crit damage. Magical, so she takes less damage from non-physical attacks. Tenacious Fiends. In PvP, demon allies gain a chance to dodge attacks. Chance increases as their hit points decrease. Anybody that's been playing the game for the last 6 months knows that dodge is practically, not always, practically useless. Vampiric, she heals percent of damage inflicted. That's fine. Frenzy, increased crit chance, so she does a higher crit chance and a higher crit damage. It still shows that she's basically capped though, so yeah, I don't know. She does not have an epic, so our basic attack is just basic attack. So her first ability is Charm. So it's a dazing, so gives them a 72% chance to miss. Ranged physical kiss for base damage, and the target mindlessly attacks their entire team. That's a basic attack. It will, however, proc things that proc based on basic attacks, like warrior runes, disease runes, burning runes, all that. So there is something to be said for this, but she's got like no follow-up. And she's really easy to kill. Sacrifice 10% of health to heal an ally for basically 10k health, and this will go up. And boost attack by 83%, and crit by 83% for both the ally and self. So that's not bad. Once again, though, what are you giving up? And Kiss of Death, which is a melee physical attack for base damage. Daze, I mean, chance to miss is basically the same as dodging. And 2.5 times damage if the target is at half health or less. So not awesome. Not super great. So that's it. I'm not going to do PvP stuff with these guys. Basically, the teams that you want to use is going to be Zulk, Malice, and Icepick. If you decide you want to try to experiment with some of the others, I mean, great. I'll probably do some PvP videos with these guys later. But this is it, so I'm going to wrap this one up and eat my dinner. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for any thumbs up, subscribes or subscriptions. Hit the bell, all that other stuff. You guys have a great day.